Well, hello, folks. How are you today? Hope you had a nice Mother's Day and all that. Lately, I've been perusing the news as usual and posting on Globe Hackers Facebook. I'm going to scroll through that with you real quick. Not saying much, really. I want to keep this short. But also, I'm reading now this book. I don't have it on, autofocus, so I have to put it out here. But it's Creating Russophobia by Guy Matin. And he is an interesting man with a lot of experience with diplomacy and international relations and journalism from Switzerland. He's not anti-West at all. But anyway, he's going through, why we have Russophobia and why we've had it for, a long time, centuries. What it's all about and how it arises and how it's used by powerful forces in the West and so on. It's interesting. I just started it, so I'll get back to you on it later. So anyway, I'll scroll through this posts real quick and hope you have a really good week, rest of the week. It's hump day here in Portugal. Wednesday, May 15th. Wow. Yesterday there were fireworks in Caldas da Rainha because it was a holiday. I don't even know what holiday it was, and I didn't see the fireworks, but my friend told me. So there you go. Talk to you later. Take good care. William T. On to the scroll. Okay, so here's the blurb about the book that I'm reading, Creating Russophobia, From the Great Religious Schism to Anti-Putin Hysteria. And I just started it, so, so far so good. It's got 4.5 on most of the book sites, Goodreads, Amazon, whatever. The author is the real deal. You can look him up. His Guy Matin. I don't know how you pronounce it. Sounds French, Swiss to me, but anyway. So he's a very interesting guy. Anyway, it says, why do the US, UK, and Europe so hate Russia? How is it that Western antipathy, once thought due to anti-communism, could be so easily revived over a crisis in distant Ukraine against a Russia no longer communist? Why does the West accuse Russia of empire building when 15 states, once part of the defunct Warsaw Pact, are now part of NATO, and NATO troops now flank the Russian border? These are only some of the questions Creating Russophobia investigates. Matin begins by showing the strength of the prejudice against Russia through the Western response to a series of events: the Uberlingen mid-air collision, the Belsen hostage-taking, the Ossetia War, the Sochi Olympics, and the crisis in Ukraine. He then delves into the historical, religious, ideological, and geopolitical roots of the detestation of Russia in various European nations over 13 centuries since Charlemagne competed with Byzantium for the title of heir to the Roman Empire. Matin examines the geopolitical machinations expressed in those times through the medium of religion, leading to the great Christian schism between Germanic Rome and Byzantium and the European crusades against the Russian Orthodoxy. This history of taboos, prejudices, and propaganda directed against the Orthodox Church provides the mystic foundations that shaped Western disdain for contemporary Russia. From the religious and imperial rivalry created by Charlemagne and the papacy to the genesis of French, English, German, and then American Russophobia, the West has been engaged in a more or less violent hostilities against Russia for 1,000 years. Contemporary Russophobia is manufactured through the construction of an anti-Russian discourse in the media and the diplomatic world, and the fabrication and demonization of the bad guy, now personified by Vladimir Putin. Both feature in the meta-narrative the mythical framework of the ferocious Russian bear, ruled with a rod of iron by vicious president. A systematic reading of all these elements is presented in the light of recent events, and in particular of the Ukrainian crisis and the recent American elections, showing how all the resources of the West's soft power have been mobilized to impose the tale of bad Russia, dreaming of global conquest. By hating Russia, one hurts oneself. Swiss journalist Guy Matin pieces together the reasons of detestation of the Kremlin and of the rhetoric that goes back to the Napoleonic times, despite the long list of aggressions perpetrated in the meantime by the West. And he explains why pushing Moscow towards Asia is a very serious error. So anyway, yeah, it seems good, and kind of goes along with other things that I've been reading from other people. Okay, I'll run you through this real quick. Globe Hackers Facebook page. Just going to run through some news that I looked at. Different things in there. This is a piece with Michael Shermer, Skeptic Magazine, about journalism. This one's about billionaires who build bunkers, and what are they preparing for? They're smart guys. We worship billionaires, and they're building bunkers. Why? And not for you, my friends, not for you. You can't afford bunkers or private armies, military contractors to protect your little bunker space. And I love Stoicism, so I post from various scholars on Stoicism, different things about, Putin, doing what he's doing, because I think, he's preparing for a long war, a total war. So he's rejiggering his whole government and everything. Whales are attacking boaters in Spain. Be careful if you're boating in Spain. Okay, so here we have problem with science publishing. Very scandalous, actually. And Biden's putting tariffs on Chinese cars. Well, America's going to reindustrialize in a heartbeat and build competitive electric cars. You can believe me when I say that they're going to try to make the money, but I don't think they're going to be competitive. So whatever, it's like who killed the electric car? It's monopoly capitalism anyway in the States, so whoever tries to compete is going to be bought up by some big corporation. So Max Blumenthal, I follow him. I think he's an integritous journalist, and he's talking about the occupation comes home. He's discussing, 300 police officers attacking a small 40 people at some university campus or whatever. Unproportional. So Putin cleans house. This is Simplicious 76 that I follow on Substack and elsewhere. It's good to have a little bit of information about what's going on with the war that's not biased, that tells you what the Russians are doing and, tells you what the Ukrainians are doing, and without, the executives at some American newspaper telling them that they can't say that. This is a piece, Skeptoid.com, about coffee. I love coffee. So coffee myths. 15 coffee myths. I like that. Here's another one about how England is really not a prosperous nation anymore. And, the whole idea is for the wealthy to turn everybody into serfs again. Rentier economy, become a landlord, and, force the plebs and proles, the serfs, to pay rent and try to take over the country. He talks also about the Windsors as kind of a inbred family with cousins and sycophantic hangers-on in the mainstream, and how they own the whole damn country, all the land and everything else. And if you want to have wind power, you can't do it on land. That's illegal in the UK. So you have to go offshore. And if you go offshore, you have to rent the land that the windmills are on from the royal family. So it's a big scam. And then English people pay more money per kilowatt than other comparable countries in the EU. So, he's kind of taking the piss out of that. I follow Jared on Medium and Substack. He's a good journalist, so he's got his bullet points there. He's comparing the UK with Mississippi, the economy of Mississippi in the United States, and he's also warning that this thing could happen to Americans as well. So don't take your eye off the ball, folks. Here's another one Jared put out. He does kind of a news points called survivingtomorrow.org, and he, documents collapse, basically. It's pretty good. He has some good observations in his journalism, things to be aware of, and so on. And Indica, I follow him, the unity of the fields. He's talking about the campus greens. And again, the hypocrisy between the way the U.S. treats its students and also the kind of solidarity they have with people in that country, in the Middle East, that's being turned into gravel. Here's a piece down here about a U.S. Army officer that resigns over unqualified support for Israel because of the slaughter in Gaza. So you can ignore all this if you want. It's not our problem, but there's a lot of good journalism about what's going on in Gaza out there if you want to look beyond mainstream media. And a lot of things you can learn about the history of the region, the cultures. Nicholas Nassim Taleb talks about the Levant in a lot of his work with his collaborators and friends. And it's just interesting to know that culture, that part of the world. Again, billionaires, implementing a global surveillance state. So, and really, honestly, we're tracked all the time. So the weather in the United States, Canadian wildfires, tornadoes, all that kind of thing. What's going on? And El Niño's coming after El Niño, and how does that affect all of us when we're living in a 2C above the industrial baseline, 1750 or 1850 or whatever, wherever you want to go back to. It's a hotter world and makes a difference. So Michael Cohen, testimony, stuff like that. So anyway, a whole bunch of stuff in there. This one I often post from this. It's called the Shalt Not Commit Logical Fallacies website. If you want to learn about logical fallacies, it's very interesting. And they have a lot of games you can buy that help you learn that. thinkingshop.org. You can buy those games. Here's one about Blackwater. Again, privatization of the military around the world, which happened when we invaded Afghanistan, and later Eric Prince wanted the U.S. government just to outsource the Afghan war or struggle with Taliban insurgents or whatever the heck they were doing there to his company. And it's $1 billion business around the world, and there are many contractors. So if you're an ex-Navy SEAL or Army Rangers or whatever guy, there are jobs, but you can't afford it. So not for you, my friends, not for you. Elon Musk, his BS, his fraud is more scandalous than Enron or any other case study you could ever look into. But people worship him because he's rich. Greek Buddhists, that's interesting. Again, the IPCC, which looks into climate change, and they have studies on this website that are over 3,000 pages long. So who's going to read that? I wish some of our representatives and leaders would read it and think about it. A briefer version of this you can see on Paul Beckwith's YouTube channel. He kind of breaks down the information, highlights the interesting bits. He's a really sweet guy, good guy to follow if you're interested. And he's an expert, a climate scientist. So anyway, there you have it. Go to Facebook/GlobeHackers and take a scroll. Challenge your algorithms, your search algorithms, and see if you can learn anything. Okay, take care. BLMT out.